seriously coughing during the podcast? Do you have any respect? I need a new Darren. Cut the Yankees thing out. He just coughed during the podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Get Buckets podcast, sponsored today by Nike running shorts, the official running shorts of the Get Buckets podcast, and also the Tights Are Not Pants movement. Kyle, what's up today?
Tights are not pants, Harv. We've had our first sighting of tights on the Baylor campus with no shorts on top of them, and it is extremely inappropriate. And all you listeners out there, don't do it.
You shouldn't be listening if you're doing that, so...
We really don't like you. Quick story. Isabel Abiasi, who is actually very close to Nathan's heart, and her friend freshman year came over to my house to meet me and Ty with a couple of younger guys. Michael Smith, also very close to Nathan's heart.
Yes.
And they were wearing just tights and
what?
No shorts over them.
No.
So they walk in. I'm introduced to them. I immediately go upstairs, and I come back down with 2 pairs of basketball shorts to have them put on. And I forced them to wear them while they were in my house. I would also like to note that since then, Isabel Abiasi has given up on tights as pants.
Good. That's a positive story. That's a comeback story. We should make a movie out of that.
Starring Nathan Harvey.
What? Starring me? I'll star as you? No, yeah. We'll get Mac Miller to play you.
Count me in.
All right. Be sure to like the podcast on Facebook and also follow us on Twitter at GetBuckets_pod. And with that, I think we're ready to go.
Let's do it.
All right.
Nathan, who was your most impressive team this weekend?
My most impressive team was Notre Dame. They started 0-2, but they finally played a full game. They beat a ranked team in a game that they had to win to remain relevant nationally. And for the rest of the year, if they had gone 0-3, I really think they would have fallen out of the national. I mean, they can't fall too far out of the national spotlight considering they have a national television deal. But I think their games would not have been interesting for a team that starts 0-3 and was supposed to contend for a BCS bowl. But they showed that they are a good team. They showed that if they hold onto the ball even less than four turnovers a game, that they can still win and win pretty handedly. So I think Notre Dame's good. They really just need to keep working on holding on to the ball, because when they have the ball, they have one of the most dangerous offenses in the nation.
I agree with you. I didn't get to watch much college football this weekend. My best friend from high school actually got married, and I was a part of that wedding. But looking at the stats from the Notre Dame game, they still had 3 turnovers, so there's a lot of room for improvement there still. But, I mean, they won handily. I guess they forced 2 turnovers, so as long as they're forcing turnovers, they can afford 1 or 2 turnovers, but that's still something that seems they need to work on.
All right, who was your most impressive team this weekend?
Well, I didn't actually get to watch any college football this weekend. My entire Saturday was taken up with wedding shenanigans. So I'll go with the obvious choice. I'll go with Oklahoma here. They beat number 5 Florida State on the road, I believe, by 10 points. The offense wasn't great, but it got the job done. And it's impressive for a team to go on the road this early and play another highly ranked team and kind of come out firing. They pulled away in the fourth quarter. It was 13-13 early in the fourth quarter, and Oklahoma came away with the win.
Let's talk some more about that game, which I got to watch most of that. And although I picked Florida State against you, I really thought Oklahoma was going to kill them. And
we'll take a quick note and go ahead and make the point that for logic like that is the reason that Nathan keeps digging himself a bigger hole in our weekly pick.
We'll talk about that more later. But I really thought that Florida State was in trouble, especially after the first drive. Oklahoma marched right down the field very effortlessly and put 7 on the board. But outside of that drive and then the game-winning drive that Oklahoma had, the Florida State defense was really solid. I I wish I could run some kind of numbers on the first and last drive, and in fact, I can. Outside of their first drive, which was 80 yards for a touchdown, and then they had the go-ahead drive late that was 83 yards for a touchdown. I mean, that's 160 yards of their 299 yards, which I was really impressed with the Florida State defense, especially after last year's game, which they were just crushed. And granted, they were on the road in that game, but I thought that they adjusted well after getting just burned down the field very methodically. In 15 plays in the first drive, they really adjusted, and they held their ground, and they were the only reason that their team had a chance to win that game because the offense wasn't impressive in the slightest. E.J. Manuel went out with an injury. We got to see a 6'6" stick at quarterback, which was rather exciting, and he played really well when he was in. He did throw a late interception, which cost them. But other than that, I thought they played great, and I think Florida State is proving that they're the class of the ACC, and I'm not sure what that means because there's not a lot of good teams in that conference, but I think they're by far the best team.
Right. I think the only game that's really going to truly matter in the ACC this year, I don't know whenever Florida State could run into Virginia Tech, it seems like that game will go a long way in deciding things. I don't know if that'll be would that be in the championship, or will they play each other during the year?
It would have to be in a championship game. Florida State does not play Virginia Tech in the regular season, but one game I think that they should look out for is Miami if they figure out the whole Ja'Cory Harris interception thing. Miami looked good against Ohio State, which was another game which, I mean, both teams are missing a ton of players, but Miami looked really solid with the way that they went about their business. And if Ja'Cory Harris doesn't turn over the ball a gazillion times, but that's his MO, that's what we expect from him, then that's why no one thinks Miami has that much potential as long as Ja'Cory Harris is the starting quarterback.
Right. And as I look through the score lines of all the ranked teams, I didn't realize this at the time, but Arkansas only beat Troy 38-28, and that it's not exactly what you're looking for out of the Arkansas offense that's really supposed to start clicking this year, even though they lost Ryan Mallett. I guess it comes down to turnovers. They threw one interception and a couple fumbles, but that's just kind of a surprising result in my eyes that game was as close as it was.
Going back to Oklahoma, Florida State, do you think Oklahoma is the best team in the Big 12, and is it close?
I do think that Oklahoma is the best team in the Big 12, but I'm not convinced that they're going to go undefeated through this Big 12 season. They'll have to play Oklahoma State and Texas, and anything can happen in either of those rivalry games just because they are rivalry games. And they'll also have to play A&M, who we haven't quite figured out if they're as good as their ranking says they are yet, but they look to be a very good football team. And then they'll still have to play teams like Missouri and Baylor, who, if things fall the right way, could potentially stay in a game late to the fourth quarter and potentially beat them.
You mentioned Texas, and we talked last week about their quarterback situation. Well, for now it's figured out. They went to UCLA all the way in the Rose Bowl with 100,000 people, and Case McCoy lit them up pretty well. I mean, he did the job. He was very efficient, 12 of 15, 168 yards. He threw for 2 touchdowns, but more importantly, he had no interceptions, which I think is what Texas needs out of that position, is someone that's just not going to turn the ball over like Garrett Gilbert was doing.
Yeah, and Texas did a good job of coming out early, and I guess they kind of pounded the run early from what it looks like and from what your kind of text message updates were telling me, and I'm sure that made McCoy's life a lot easier in the fact that UCLA was getting a little more committed to stopping the run, and it opened up a little more for him. But he had very good numbers, and I agree with you that the no interceptions is huge for them. And I guess it looks like Ash played just a little bit. I don't know how many plays he got. He only had 3 pass attempts, but from what I've seen of him, he gets a lot of quarterback read type of plays. So he's almost just as big of a threat to run when he's in the game. So I'm sure that opens up a little trickery and a little him actually passing the ball too.
Yeah,
Who
Ash.
picked Texas
What?
in that game?
Sorry.
Which of us picked? Did we both pick Texas?
Yeah, we both took Texas in that game.
Okay.
So you're safe
I was
there.
really hoping it was just me.
I would. No, I'm not that dumb.
Well, you're pretty dumb.
Well, we'll talk about it in a minute. All right. So as of, I guess today, there's 2 new teams in the ACC, correct? Or is that as of yesterday?
It's as of yesterday, but from everything I've seen, those 2 teams are um, Pittsburgh and Syracuse. But from everything I've seen, they're going to actually not be in the ACC for 27 months. I believe I read yesterday that the proper period to notify the Big East, you had to give them 27 months notice before you leave. And for right now, the 2 schools are going to hold to that, and they're going to honor that side of things. But I guess you could see that changing depending on how quickly all this other conference stuff happens, because if A&M is going to the SEC for next year and OU and Oklahoma State and potentially Texas and Texas Tech are going out west, and that'll all kick in next year, it's looking like, then I don't see why the Big East would want to kind of hold on to this and make that wait for that shift, especially with the talks of potential Big East leftovers joining together with Big 12 leftovers. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. From everything that's being said, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are pretty much as good as gone out to the Pac-12, assuming that the universities that are currently in the Pac-12 vote them in, which could be a little bit of a problem. Colorado and the Arizona schools really just want to play games to the west of them. They don't want to spend a lot of time playing a team that is in like the central time zone, as both Oklahoma schools are. And there's some schools like Stanford that are kind of worried about the academics of those 2 schools. But Texas and Texas Tech they're obviously tied together, and Tech's going to go wherever Texas goes. But it looks like there's just a few more obstacles to be cleared before Texas can actually get out there. ESPN and the Pac-12 and Texas still have a lot of work to do figuring out the Longhorn Network and how that would fit in, whether it would become part of the Pac-12 network or what would happen there. And again, those same schools would have to vote a poor academic school in Texas Tech in, and they would have to be willing to play games in a time zone that they don't necessarily want to be in. So there's still a long way to go to get all 4 of those schools in, but especially Texas and Texas Tech.
Did you read the thing that Joe Lunardi did that I sent you?
I did.
I thought that was impressive, and I thought it outlined it perfectly how it needs to be done. For those that aren't familiar, and I doubt a lot of you are, Joe Lunardi is the bracketologist, and he does a lot of the NCAA basketball tournament predictions for ESPN, and he came up with a realignment conference scenario in which, was it 90-something teams were included in that?
Yes, I think it was 96 teams. It was 8 conferences with 12 teams apiece.
Yeah, and the way it was outlined was both, it worked regionally for all the schools, and it also worked with cutting the schools that need to be cut, such as the MAC and the Sun Belt, in the schools that really, the way he put it, have no business sharing NCAA revenue with all the, I guess you would call them like the Power 6 conferences. Those schools out there that have no business competing, and that would eliminate, really a lot of the trash schools, which is the people that Ohio State, Florida, Texas, those people schedule every year. And I think it would make football more exciting. In basketball, I think it would also be more exciting just because. But it also put schools that we know and love, such as the Baylor Bears, more on that outside, especially with their football. I think they're the 76th team chosen in that, which is not where you want to be. But I think that's also increasing because that his formula was based on attendance and wins, and I think that's only going to go up from here as Baylor continues to get better.
And if Baylor does manage to stay in a BCS conference that has a pretty good revenue stream coming in, it really does look like they are going to build a new stadium a lot closer to campus. And I think they'd go with the horseshoe look. But I guess that remains to be seen. If Baylor were to end up in the Mountain West or Conference USA, I don't think the money's going to be there to do that. But hopefully the Big East and the Big 12 end up combining, because I guess that would be best for a lot of those teams that are kind of left out a little bit right now.
Ready for games to pick?
The real question is, are you ready for games to pick?
All right, I'm ready to pick some games. All right, Kyle. Last week, you were 5-1. Rather impressive, bringing your overall total to 10-1.
Very impressive.
I was a little less impressive. I was 4-2 last week, still winning record of note. I'm now 7-4 overall, which puts me 3 games back.
Yes, 3 games back in the win and the loss column, actually.
It's already week 4, and I'm falling behind.
And while it is week 4, this is only week 3 of our pick'em, because we didn't pick week 1 games.
True. Okay, starting Saturday, LSU going to West Virginia, ESPN College Game Day going to West Virginia for probably the last time ever, because who knows how good that team is going to be in the next few years. I will take LSU, and that pains me because I hate just about everything LSU does, but I'm just not sure West Virginia has it. It would not shock me in the slightest if they won the game, but like I did last week, this is not the spot to take my shot and try and gain a game with a weak home team.
Right, I commend you for being at least smart enough to not pick West Virginia over LSU. West Virginia might not gain 300 yards against this LSU defense. They are just terrorizing people. I think LSU will probably win somewhere between a 21 and 28 point game, but it will be something like 28-7. West Virginia is not going to put up enough points to stay in this game.
All right, SEC, Arkansas going to Alabama. Who do you have in this one?
I'm going to go with Alabama. Arkansas coming off a small margin of victory over Troy. Alabama also has a very good defense. I think they'll shut Arkansas down. It's at Alabama, so give me the Crimson Tide.
I agree. There's no reason to take Arkansas with what we've seen from Alabama, and I guess what you said, what we've seen from Arkansas. This is logical. First really Big 12 matchup of the year. Oklahoma State going to A&M. Who are you taking in this one?
This one, it pains my heart to pick, but I think I'm going to take Texas A&M. I'm going to root for Oklahoma State, and I think Harvey's going to end up taking Oklahoma State, and I want him to know that I'm definitely rooting for them, and I'm rooting for him on this one. But I think A&M at Kyle Field, with as much passion as there's going to be in this game, is going to be too much for Oklahoma State. I can't believe I just said that.
I can't believe you did either. Oklahoma State's offense is pretty amazing right now. Granted, they played Tulsa, but they waited till midnight to start that game and didn't slow them down at all. I will take Oklahoma State on 2 reasons. One, I think their offense is better than A&M's defense, and then my second reason, I hate A&M. So there's my 2 reasons that I need. So we finally disagree on a game today. Next game, Florida State going to Clemson. I baited you into taking Clemson last week. It didn't work. Oh, I don't even know what happened.
I'm really smart.
I got what I wanted, and I still lost.
Well, that's kind of how it goes for you. You get what you want, but what you want is not what you need, Nathan.
Ooh, nice line. Okay, who are you taking?
I've got to go with Florida State. I I can't pick Clemson again. And
Come on, yeah, you can.
Getting lucky again. I think Florida State's a better team. And a lot of this has to do, if Clemson played great Saturday, I didn't even get to see it. I just kept up with the score. But I have no idea how they played. I'm going to stick with Florida State. They're going to bounce back after a tough loss to Oklahoma.
Clemson is the home team. You sure you don't want to take them?
I can see that they are the home team, and no, I do not want to take them.
All right. I'll take Florida State, too.
Oh, man. Are you sure you don't want to take Clemson? They're the home team.
No, I don't.
Okay. All right.
All right, Pac-12 matchup. USC going to Arizona State. Arizona State coming off a loss to Illinois, which I did not predict. Didn't see that coming. Who are you going with in this one?
I'm going to go with Arizona State just because they've got more to play for. USC not going to a bowl game, not going to the Pac-12 championship game. I just don't know how much fire you can play with as a team going on the road to somewhere that can be as hostile as Arizona State was against Missouri a couple weeks ago, and necessarily find that motivation to play the full 4 quarters. And I just don't think they're that good this year, so I'm going to go with Arizona State here.
I was hoping you'd take USC because I'm going Arizona State as well. I like them as the home team. From what I saw against when they played Missouri at home, that place was electric. And it was on national television, but I still think that, like you said, USC doesn't have a ton to play for, and Arizona State needs this game after that loss to Illinois. They need to start off conference play right because conference play matters to them, unlike it does to USC. So I will take Arizona State. And then the last game, Notre Dame stays relevant in our games to pick for another week. Are you going to take them against Pitt? Traveling to Pitt.
I'm going to take them against Pitt simply because I know nothing about this Pittsburgh team. And to me, that is a bad thing for them. So give me Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish.
I'll take the Irish as well. My third straight week picking them. Last week paid off. Remember that time you had Michigan State?
Last week paid off for you. Won't happen again.
Okay. Well, I'm taking Notre Dame again, and that leaves us with one game that we disagreed on. So, at best, I make up one game.
Well, that's probably not going to happen.
Okay.
I hope it does, though. Go Oklahoma State. I guess it's worth noting, mainly because Darren, my Darren, not Nathan's Darren, is a Yankees fan. That Mariano Rivera just got his 602nd save, breaking Trevor Hoffman's all-time saves record. So congratulations to him, and I hope that if you run into the Rangers in the playoffs, that your arm falls off.
Interesting. All right, and with that, I think we're done with another week. Tune in next week as we go viral.
Tweet at me.